This is why I have trust issues. I'm your host Yusuf, and these are 10 terrifying secrets the government tried to hide from the public. Make sure you subscribe and ring that bell to get notified whenever we upload a new video. Anyways, let's go under. Number 10. The Tet Offensive. Vietnam's communist troops shocked the United States on January 31st, 1968 during the Tet holiday by launching a large, well-coordinated attack against South Vietnam. The Tet Offensive was perhaps the most significant battle of Vietnam, despite the fact that the communist military successes turned out to be temporary. American politicians changed course and concentrated on minimizing America's presence in Vietnam as a result of the public's growing disillusionment with the conflict. Following the Tet Offensive, a government investigation found that despite repeated warnings, US and South Vietnamese military officials and intelligence analysts had not properly anticipated the intensity, coordination, and timing of the enemy attack. According to Navy librarian Glenn E. Helm, the intelligence catastrophe was exacerbated by a disrespect for information collecting, language obstacles, and a misunderstanding of adversary strategy. Number 9. The Iranian Revolution. The CIA notoriously decided in August 1978, 6 months before the US-backed Shah Mohammad Reza Pahlavi led Iran, that Iran is not in a revolutionary or even a pre-revolutionary situation. As we all know, Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini rose to power in the 1979 Islamic Revolution, causing a schism between Iran and the United States that has lasted to this day. According to Gary Sick, a member of Jimmy Carter's National Security Council, the US had scaled back its intelligence gathering inside Iran in the run-up to the revolution in deference to the Shah, which contributed to US officials overlooking widespread Iranian resentment of the Shah and the US and underestimating the religious opposition's ability to overthrow the Shah. Number 8. The Iraq Incident. Secretary of State Colin Powell stated in a February 2003 address before the United Nations Security Council to make the case for confronting Iraq that his claims concerning Iraq's weapons of mass destruction, or WMDs, were based on solid intelligence. Indeed, an October 2002 intelligence estimate determined that Iraq was continuing its WMD program and might produce a nuclear weapon within several months to a year, if enough fissile material was obtained. However, after its invasion of Iraq, the United States failed to find proof of such programs, which President George W. Bush described as his biggest regret. Number 7. Intelligence failure in Korea. On June 25, 1950, the North Korean People's Army of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, or DPRK, crossed the 38th parallel and came dangerously close to uniting the Korean peninsula under Kim Il-sung's communist rule. American military and civilian officials were caught off guard, and only the intervention of inadequately trained and equipped US garrison troops from Japan were able to halt the North Korean assault at a great cost in American lives and injuries. 4 months later, as American and UN forces pushed the North Koreans back across the 38th parallel, the Chinese People's Liberation Army, or PLA, intervened in force. The United States' military and civilian officials were once again caught off guard, and another expensive price was paid in American casualties. Number 6. Battalion 316. Intelligence Battalion 316 was the name of a Honduran army unit responsible for carrying out political assassinations and torture of suspected political opponents of the government during the 1980s. Battalion members received training and support from the United States Central Intelligence Agency, both in Honduras and at US military bases. Battalion 601, including Juan Siga Correa, who had collaborated with the Chilean DINA in assassinating General Carlos Prats and had trained, along with Muhammad Ali Sin al-Din, the Argentine Anti-Communist Alliance. At least 19 Battalion 316 members were graduates of the School of the Americas. The Battalion 316 was also trained by Pinochet's Chile. Number 5. Operation Chaos. Operation Chaos, or Operation MH Chaos, was a Central Intelligence Agency domestic espionage project targeting American citizens operating from 1967 to 1974, established by President Lyndon B. Johnson and expanded under President Richard Nixon, whose mission was to uncover possible foreign influence on domestic race, anti-war, and other protest movements. The operation was launched under Director of Central Intelligence Richard Helms by Chief of Counterintelligence James Jesus Angleton and headed by Richard Ober. The MH designation is to signify the program was a global area of operations. The CIA was charged with the collection, correlation, and evaluation of intelligence. While the act does not specify a prohibition on collecting domestic intelligence or a restriction to only collect foreign intelligence, Executive Order 12333 of 1981 added prohibitions to limit CIA activities. Number 4. Partnering with substance dealers. Illegal labs producing a syringe substance were first discovered near Marseille, France in 1937. These labs were run by Corsican gang leader Paul Carbone. For years, the Corsican underworld had been involved in the manufacturing and trafficking of substances. It was this substance network that eventually became known as the French Connection. The Corsican gang was protected by the CIA and the SDECE after WW2 in exchange for working to prevent French communists from bringing the old port of Marseille under their control. Number 3. Abandoning Tibet. The CIA Tibetan program was a nearly 2 decades long anti-Chinese covert operation focused on Tibet, which consisted of political action, propaganda, paramilitary, and intelligence operations based on US government arrangements made with brothers of the 14th Dalai Lama, who was not initially aware of them. The goal of the program was to keep the political concept of an autonomous Tibet alive within Tibet and among several foreign nations. Although it was formally assigned to the CIA, it was nevertheless closely coordinated with several other US government agencies such as the Department of State and the Department of Defense. Previous operations had aimed to strengthen various isolated Tibetan resistance groups, which eventually led to the creation of a paramilitary force on the Nepalese border consisting of approximately 2,000 men. Number 2. Operation Charly. Operation Charly was allegedly the codename given to a program during the 1970s and 1980s undertaken by the junta in Argentina with the objective of providing military and counterinsurgency assistance to right-wing dictatorships and insurgents in Central America. According to Noam Chomsky, the operation was either headed by the Argentine military with the agreement of the United States Department of Defense, or was led by the US and used the Argentinians as a proxy. Number 1. Operation Condor. Operation Condor was a United States-backed campaign of political repression and state terror involving intelligence operations, CIA-backed coups d'etats, and assassinations of left-wing socialist leaders in Latin and South America from 1968 to 1989. Highly publicized events such as the assassination of Cuban revolutionary Che Guevara by the CIA-backed Bolivian forces in October 1967 have been perceived as catalysts that predated the operation. Operation Condor was officially and formally implemented in November 1975 by the right-wing dictatorships of the southern cone of South America. Thanks for watching. Those were 10 terrifying secrets the government tried to hide from the public. Leave a like and comment if you think we missed anything, and we hope you have a scary day.